I'll get used to this. So, um, hey, well, thanks so much for tuning in. I just wanted to share a quote with you really quickly. So, this week, I'm putting on the Massive Impact Challenge. It's been so much fun. I had Dr. Juan Michelle Martin on yesterday. Janice Mitchell was on today. We're doing Buffy Stinchfield tomorrow, and then I'm on Thursday. And then we got Anthony Lowe on Friday, which is just so much fun. It's been amazing. It's been so fun to have some of you there, and just all the people there, showing up and doing stuff. And so, one of the things that Dr. J, she shared with me yesterday, is, one of the things I've been asking everybody at the end of each day. So it's a challenge. There's workbook, there's things going on every day, but it's essentially like I'm interviewing other people. So that's why I call it, a summit challenge. So anyways, with that, I asked them at the end of each day, I say, hey, what's one thing that you would want to give, one piece of advice that you would give to anybody? It could be about the topic we're talking on or something else. And so that's what I've asked. And it was really cool because, Dr. J talked about, she said, imperfect action beats perfect action every time. And I really just think that is so true, that, imperfect action is so important. It's interesting because on my birthday is when I let everybody know about the Massive Impact Challenge. Right. And it was like, yeah, it was cool to send it out. And I said, hey, I have this gift for you. And, this is what I'm doing. But it was interesting when I was doing that, because I thought about a year ago when I had it was a similar timing. I was doing my very first challenge called the Phone Down Challenge, if you haven't heard of it before. And I did it one time, and it was just interesting to have a different experience this time around. Like, I just remember back then just thinking, oh man, like, come on, everybody, you got to come join this. And like everyone, like, I just felt a lot more like in a scarcity mindset and more of a, hey, like why aren't people joining? Like, this is like, it's my birthday, and like that type of thing, like expecting that like people would just do it. Right. And I did, a lot of it was more, I'd reach out to people and see if they wanted to be a part of it. It was a paid challenge, and it was, my first one. Again, there was a lot of things I didn't really know what I was doing back then. But again, when I'm looking at it right now, I'm like, well, what if I didn't do that? What if I didn't actually go and make that happen? Like, where would I be today? And so it's like, I'm really glad that I was super imperfect, and I'm still imperfect, right? I mean, I'm doing these challenges, doing summits and things like that. And there's still plenty of things that I'm like, okay, yeah, I got to do this better, do that better. But like, the thing is, if I hadn't done that, like, let's just imagine a year ago, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do the Phone Down Challenge right now. I'm going to like study it out for a year. Like, let's just continue to learn and, perfect the content and do all these different things. And then finally, a year later, I'm going to do it. Well, how much would I have learned through that experience? I probably wouldn't have learned that much. Like, it's kind of like when you go and you buy a course and you go through the entire thing, but you don't actually do anything about it, right? You don't change how you're doing things, and you don't actually like implement what's in there, because again, that's one reason that courses are sometimes difficult. And I don't necessarily recommend that people start with courses, is because someone has to actually go through that. They have to like go through it and have changes by themselves. Whereas like a lot of times when you have a coach or you have someone there to help you, it makes things so much easier, and you can really help them have the results, because you give them accountability and support and encouragement and all that type of stuff. Whereas a course is a little bit harder. But, just thinking, it's like kind of like that. Like, if I had said, you know what, I just want to study challenges for a year. And to be honest, I probably studied them a little bit too long, right? But and learn from coaches and learn from different people, right? But in the end, like, taking action is what really made the difference, right? Even though it was totally imperfect, I learned so much through that first challenge, right? So here's like a little bit of a breakdown of what it was. It was like Phone Down Challenge. The idea was to help people, like, if you imagine like you're with your friends and family and everyone's around the table and you're talking, and after a while the conversation dies down and someone pulls out their phone. And then pretty soon someone else does. And then the entire table now has their phones out. So we're all together, but no one's actually talking. And it was kind of this idea of like, well, I'd learned recently, back then about like how what matters like on social media and about using your phone. It's not actually how much that you're on your phone. It's actually more about what you're doing on it. What's your intent? Is your intent just to scroll and just to, consume content, or is it to like be proactive and help people and do, connect with friends? Like, it's totally different, and it makes such a difference. And so anyways, it was interesting for me to learn that information. I was like, yeah, this could be really cool to share that. But like, the thing I didn't know, and this is something I learned from coaches later, is that you need to start with the offer in mind. Like, you've got to think of, what is the end goal of this? And so for me, when I did that phone down challenge, it was great to have some people there, and I was so grateful that they were there, and I could help them and teach them. And then towards the end, I was like, oh yeah, and for being here, like I'm going to give a discount for this course or whatever. And it was just like, it was such an afterthought, right? But like going through that helped me to see this is how it works, right? I started to pick things up and understand how things can be different. And again, learning from coaches and learning from different people and how they do things and how I might, do what they do. But what's also been interesting about all of this too is as I've been able to like think less about, oh, okay, I need to go find this guru that's going to help me and like just follow exactly what they do and everything will be fine. Like it's been interesting for me to learn from people, right? Learn from experts, learn from people I've paid and things like that, but to also learn on my own, right? Like as I've gone through and done my own thing, then it's allowed me to pick up on different things. Like this week, as I mentioned, the Massive Impact Challenge, it's really what I call a summit challenge. So it's like I'm structuring the content in a way, and I have questions and homework and things like that so that people can have breakthroughs throughout the week. But it's with other people because I realize right now that I don't have a massive audience, right? I just don't. And that's totally fine. But utilizing the audiences of other people is a great way to do that. And so that's one of the reasons that I'm putting on this Massive Impact Challenge and doing it like this is because it allows me to network with other people and to put together an awesome event that I can do. And so just had I not done that phone down challenge and done a summit and done other things, it wouldn't have led me to this point. And so that's why imperfect action is always going to be perfect action, because perfect action is going to take way too long and then you don't get the feedback that you need. Right? You launch something. If you spend a year on something and then you finally launch it and you hadn't really talked to anybody and you don't have any audience, then it probably is going to flop. Like, to be honest, because you hadn't gotten that feedback and you don't have people that are interested in it. Whereas if you start, taking action and doing different things, then it really allows you to be more successful. And so I just think that's a really powerful concept and something that I recommend everyone, doing is just feeling like, you know what? It doesn't really matter that this isn't perfect. And sometimes you may look at what someone else is doing and say, oh, wow, that's crazy, all the things they're doing and how much they have set up and whatever. But like, they're at a different point and that's totally fine. And so there's so like, even with challenges, right? Like I'm excited because next week is Build Your Event Live. And so it's going to be super fun to be able to really help people build out their next event. It's going to be so fun. So I can't wait for that. But like there's people that's not the right thing for them yet. Like it's not the right thing for them to be in there, in that event and even like working with me, like that they're not at that level yet. And that's totally fine. Because the thing is like, even if you're not like ready to work with a coach or ready to work with someone, like you can still utilize a lot of things I'm talking about, like doing a challenge, like a lot of times this is how it works is you have a Facebook group or some sort of community and you have landing pages where people can go register and they can do that. And that's what I recommend because that's like a true challenge, right? Like that's what you can really accept payments online. You can do all these different things, but like maybe you're not ready for that, but you want to try out challenges. Well, here's the thing. What you should do is figure out what is the goal of your challenge. Okay. So maybe it's like, hey, I want to have someone apply to work with me. Okay. Or you want to pitch a discovery call or something like that, right? It's like, okay, cool. I'm going to do that. Let me think of the content that needs to, prepare people for that so that they understand, for me, I'm all about events. And so I'm always trying to think of ways that I can help people see that events are everywhere, right? And that they're so powerful and that everyone is using them and that you can use them. And so it's like, that's what I would do. And so if you think of something like that, all you'd have to do is figure out 5 days of something you could talk about and then go live for 5 days in a row and say, hey guys, like next week on Monday, I'm going to be doing this. And you can just do it on, Instagram Live or on Facebook Live or whatever, and just go and do that and do 5 days of content and have a mini challenge that you can do. That you don't need a landing page. You don't need anything like that. You go through and you do that and you encourage people to then, book a discovery call or whatever that is for your process. And again, like you can utilize the power of challenges in doing that. And it's so powerful to be able to go and just take that action, right? Because yes, I believe that it's really awesome to have a landing page and to be able to capture people's emails and to be able to offer some sort of, upsell and different, I think that that's the true way to do it. However, if you're like, I don't know, like, I don't have any of that stuff right now, well, you can still do this, right? Like, you can still go ahead and say, yes, I'm going to put on a 5-day challenge, and it's not like people don't even opt into it. I'm just going to go live and just talk about it, and then people will go and do that. And so I just think like that is, you'd learn so much by doing that. And then eventually you get to the point where like, yeah, okay, I want to have all the tech set up. I want to do all these different things and get that going. But like, it's just so important to just to take action. And that's like, I've been talking to, I talked to Janice about it today on the interview. And I also talked to like my brother-in-law, who's an amazing entrepreneur, about, we've talked about the idea of failing forward. Is that it's that you need to continue to take action so that you gather the data, you get the feedback that you need, and you continue to figure out what you're doing and where you're going, right? And sometimes you know exactly what you're doing, why you're doing it, and that's great, right? I think for me, it took a little bit of took a long time, to be honest, to figure out what I really wanted to do. I've always felt like there's this need for me to be out in front of more people and to share more than just like one-on-one. I've just always felt that inside of me. But it's taken me forever, like, to do this, like to really get to this point where it's like, okay, this is like what I'm focusing on is events. And that's the thing that I'm invested in. And so anyways, I just encourage you just to continue to, keep your head up and just to take imperfect action, because again, that's what really is going to move the needle for you. And as long as you're continuing to show up and to be consistent, things will work out. And that's one of the biggest things that I could say for me, which I'll have to talk about this on another day too, but is just the confidence that I feel in things that I'm doing. Is I feel like before I was always looking for like external validation of like, okay, yeah, this person said it's going to work, or my friends and family, oh, wow, that's really cool what you're doing. Like at this point, I have this internal confidence, and I must say that comes from God. I feel like that He's given that to me to help me see that, like, Dustin, this is all going to work, and you just got to stick with it. I don't know. It's just so different. It's hard to like explain because it's something like you feel like inside your heart, but it's just something I just really feel like this is all work out, right? I mean, I'm on like episode 34 of my total podcasting journey, right? And so it'll be interesting to get 134 where we're at. But I don't even care, right? If it's exact same, like, I just know that everything is going to work out. And again, that's one thing that to me, with my faith in God, that like I've always had the scripture, trust in God, and that's something that just continues to come back to me, is just trust in God. When things are hard, just trust in Him. When things are good, trust in Him. And as long as you do that, everything does work out, right? Which is really cool. And so anyways, that's my message for you today, is imperfect action. Just continue to take that action and see what you can do, because I know that you can continue to make a difference, make an impact, make income, and do all of that through imperfect action. So thanks so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And I hope if you are getting to this point that you're already in the Massive Impact Challenge, because it's been super fun. Just a ton of value there, talking about workshops and webinars, emails, the importance of emails, talking about how you do challenges. That's what we're talking about on Thursday. And then also just like about your mindset, about how being you is really key to success. And so if you're not already in there, we'd love to see you there. If not, I'll continue to tell you about it and give you some of the highlights and things like that. But I really appreciate you, tuning into this. And, if it's something that you love, then just share it. I'd love if you just share it with your friends, or, whenever the time's right. But I really appreciate you for tuning into this. And so thanks so much. And make sure you go out there and, use your faith to impact and income.